Hi everyone, I'm Mr. Puckett. Thank you so much for stopping by today's video. If you notice we've got a bit of a scenery change and even a couple of new animals in the shot, it's because I'm not at my house. I am in a complete stranger's house right now, and I can't wait to tell you how this all transpired. I've been staying here for the last 6 weeks taking care of these amazing cats, before which I had never even petted a cat before, and my dogs really just tried to kill every cat they had ever seen in the alleyway. So to see their transformation, and mine too, from that to what we are today and how we've kind of grown into this little misfit family over the last 6 weeks, I'm excited to tell you how it all happened and show you some of the cutest footage I have ever taken. So without further ado, let's take a look at today's video.
I moved to Nashville about a year ago, after having never really been here before. I only knew 2 people when I moved here, and thanks to COVID and some self-isolating tendencies, I never really met anybody else. I've always tried to use the internet to bring people together, to do things we wouldn't normally be able to do on our own. So when I was digitally introduced to somebody else in my area, I jumped at the chance to meet them. Somebody I only knew as backline nurse. She lived right here in the same neighborhood as I do. So I thought I'd take an opportunity to digitally introduce myself. And as it turns out, we had a whole lot more in common than just living in the same neighborhood. She was also new to the area from the same place that I was, a beautiful part of the country known as the Twin Cities. And she was also a YouTuber. As a registered nurse, spreading truth about COVID and how people can help other people from the safety of their own home.
We just need to do what we need to do to keep ourselves and each other safe in the meantime. We need to be following those regulations, wearing masks, washing your hands, social distancing. But something that's just as important as that is being careful about sharing information online. Just like any other public health intervention, it does not matter how effective a vaccine is if people don't want to take it out of fear because of misinformation. The information that you share with other people in your life and online could literally mean the difference between life and death at this point. We can't just be taking advice from somebody who shows up on our screens at face value. Uh-oh. You already messed it up. Oops. Who the hell am I and why are you listening to me? That was a trap. I walked you right into it. I'll put my credentials on the screen. But when someone's telling you about news that can directly impact your health and safety, you should be asking yourself, who is this person? What is motivating them to share this information with me? Why does this person deserve my valuable time and attention on such an important topic? Do they actually care about my safety and the safety of the public, or do they have some sort of bias? And lastly, where are they getting their information? Is it first person, they're a doctor or nurse in the field that's seeing this every day? Is it a public health official that's looking at all the available data and evidence all the time? Is it a news organization that's known for some sort of bias? You should not be taking my word or the word of anybody else at face value. Understand where they're getting their information. The finish line is in sight. It's there. We know it's coming. So it's more important now than ever that you don't give up.
And she was doing this all practically right from my backyard in Nashville. She had also amassed quite a social media following, especially on Twitter, thanks in many ways to her amazing cats. But like I'd said at the start of the video, I didn't know the first thing about cats. One day I got home from work, hopped on the couch with my dogs, and opened up Facebook to see Backline Nurse had posted about an opportunity she had to be a nurse on a major motion picture set in a different country. The only problem was she had to leave in just a couple of days and didn't know what to do with her cats. I decided to take the opportunity and comment that I know we have never met before and don't know each other, but I'd be more than happy to take care of your cats for the next 6 weeks and stay at your house. Thinking she really wouldn't jump at that opportunity. But she did. And 6 weeks later, I'm so thankful for that. So a couple of days after I commented on that post, the Pucketts and I showed up at her house with a key to meet the cats. I don't think I've ever been so nervous, and Mrs. Puckett hadn't been either. Those first couple of days were pretty tough. It's a lot of whining from the dogs, a lot of hiding from the cats, and a lot of me holding back Mrs. Puckett so she didn't do something I was going to regret. But little by little over those first 72 hours, they started to get closer. This was the first time they even sat on the same bed together, and it felt like such a huge achievement. Nobody was chasing anybody else, nobody was growling, but there were still some tense moments. I didn't know if the cats were going to attack the dogs. I still didn't know if the dogs were going to attack the cats. So we gave them a little more FaceTime every day. PJ was the first to get real interested, trying to figure out where we were and who these strange animals were. But the cats weren't so quick to share that same excitement. But after a couple of days, I realized that neither the dogs or the cats were going to fight. So I didn't have to hold them back any longer. The dogs started to become themselves again. They really made her home their home quickly. And even though the cats kept their distance at first, slowly but surely, they got closer as well. Meet Shelly. Shelly was the wild card of this whole situation. Shelly was the one that ran around the house at 3 a.m. with no fear. Meet Luna. Luna was my cuddle bug. And after a couple of days, she followed me everywhere I went in the house. And even Shelly got cuddly after a couple of days. The only way I know how to take care of dogs is to run them until they're tired and happy, and then to cuddle. But I couldn't take the cats out of the house. It was such a strange thing for me to come home and stay with them instead of take them outside. In the 6 weeks I was there, so much of my life had changed. Everything changed in those 6 weeks. I took the dogs and we ran what Wikipedia called the toughest trail in all of Tennessee. When I first met the cats, they could only run about 12 miles. And by today, they're up to 20 miles. I got my second vaccine while I was there, thanks in many ways to all the advice from Backline Nurse. I even went out and protested Hatworks in my very own community, promoting and profiting off of hate. We were able to raise almost $10,000 for the Nashville Humane Society, right from Backline Nurse's couch. I even got a promotion at work during these 6 weeks. Everything changed. All while Backline Nurse was on a movie set in a different country. And after every one of these life-changing events, I came home to my new family. And the dogs and the cats started to love each other. They were from different worlds, without a doubt. And I don't think they appreciated it very much when PJ got all crazy. But it just became so normal. I have 4 animals now, instead of 2. And my little best friends, well, they had their own little best friends now. As the date quickly approached where Backline Nurse was coming home, I started to get real nervous, because everything was about to change again. I wouldn't be coming home to this new family for very much longer. Now, the internet changed everything. My generation is the only generation that grew up without it and then got to experience all of the good and the bad that comes with it. Especially social media. Social media makes it so much easier to get to know somebody without ever having actually met them. And even though most people only put their best foot forward on digital platforms, you get to see who they want to be. You get to see them at their best and get to know their hopes and dreams. I think if 20 years ago, somebody had cat-sitted for 6 weeks for a complete stranger, you might have called that crazy. But through social media, I was able to get to know Backline Nurse, and she was able to get to know me. She was able to walk with me on this YouTube journey, as many of you have, to see the way I interact with everyone in my own community. She was able to see the way I treat my dogs as the most important thing in my life, and to feel safe to have me with their cats. To see the things I do in my own community, always trying to bring people together. So while I was there, I didn't feel like I was in a stranger's house. I didn't feel like the cats were strangers. I just felt like I was helping a friend that I hadn't met yet. And even though, at first, I was terrified of what might happen, it was only a couple of days in before I was having the time of my life with these cats and dogs. And if there's one thing that I took out of this whole situation, it's that I think maybe I need to add a little cat to the Puckett family. Someday. And that I'm so happy she trusted me with the most important things in her life. And even though I couldn't take the cats on our daily adventures, every time me and the dogs went out and did something fun, I was so excited to go back home and tell them all about it. I was so excited to get off work and be with my new family, who showed me nothing but love the entire time I was there. Now you might be wondering if there's a point to this story, or if I really did spend all this time making a YouTube video just to show off these amazing cats with my beautiful dogs. Well, it's both. All of you know how much I love to show off my dogs. But I did learn some very valuable lessons in the 6.5 weeks I spent with these cats. I learned that I shouldn't be so afraid to trust people. And more importantly, I'm finally at a point in my life where people shouldn't be afraid to trust me. And that's a huge step in my recovery. For almost 2 decades, I was the most unreliable person that anybody in my friends or family group ever knew. I was never there for anyone, and I was certainly never there for myself. I could not be trusted. And I think that's why it meant so much to me that Backline Nurse trusted me with her cats. And that I actually followed through with it. Is that my journey of sobriety has made me a reliable person for the first time in my life, where people can expect things from me. And they can ask for help, and I can provide it for the first time in my life. And that's an amazing feeling. It's oftentimes through being untrustworthy as ourselves that we learn not to trust others. We see the worst in our own self. And that often leads us to see the worst in other people. And this experience taught me that I can trust again, because I'm now a person that other people can have faith in. To be there for them when they need it. And that's a really incredible feeling. And for as many times as Backline Nurse thanked me for taking care of her cats, I thought it was only appropriate to show my gratitude towards her for having faith in me, for showing me a glimpse of my present self, and allowing me to see how far I've come. I had the time of my life with those cats, and I even learned a few valuable lessons. And I hope I get to do it again someday.